Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Monday. For what it's worth, let's hip the hop to hip de hop de hip de 20. There we go. Volume to the. I don't know. Shut up. I just work here. All right. Last night we did some interesting stuff dealing mostly with an AI generated prompt where I took the prompt and started working with it and working the picture, fixing its errors, adding details to it, things like that. And it's actually turning out to be a pretty decent picture. I'm kind of having fun with it. So I thought I would continue on for a little while longer today and make it work and see what we've got going on for us. And see what kind of trouble we can get into, because Trouble is my middle name. I mean, not, legally, they didn't put it on my birth certificate. Well, maybe they did, but we don't talk about that. That's a family secret. We don't discuss this openly. Just saying. Okay. So now we're going to move on to here. We're going to do this. We're going to go back to work. One of the things I'm noticing here, I'm going to go on ahead and grab some of this here and just kind of lighten this up a little down in this corner right here. I'm going to take the blender tool for this. I'm going to go in here and just work this a little. Not a lot, just a little. And part of it is just because this side is dark, but this side's not. And I'm kind of feeling a little bit like the reason that's the case is because this is my lit side of the face over here. So we're just going to kind of work this in a little. Reality is I took this eye and copied and pasted it over here because the AI is broken and did weird things by adding lots of eyeballs in here. And that was kind of strange and creepy. So we've been kind of going through here and fixing some of that. We'll open up her eye a little bit more here. Do the same thing over here. Open this up a little bit more. There we go. And that's fixing a lot of the kind of the weird problems that were going on with that particular painting. All right, kind of, wrong color. Pick the right color. Like so. The other thing that's not in here, things like lashes, right? I mean, she should have eyelashes because she's a little girl. I'm also going to switch to this G pen and go in here and just do this. You can give it a little bit more pop. Another thing I'm not seeing really happening over here is a lot of light on this side. Like, we're not getting a lot of. This is in a very different style than mine, so I kind of like the idea of just coming back around with my skin brush turned up pretty high here, just lightening this edge up right through here. You take the blend tool and blend that on in. Right, now all I'm doing here is just giving a little bit of a light bounce on her cheek. Right here, indicate that this is an illuminated part of her face. Right through here. Like it's reflecting a little bit of light. So what I'm doing here is going into this AI model and actually like brightening it up and lightening it up and changing it. The style that was used, whatever style it was used, is a very flat color. A very flat color style. So whatever is the story, there's nothing wrong with that, but we lose a little bit of what's going on with her. I'm kind of just working with it here. I'm just going in here and working the colors a little bit, cleaning it up. As legitimately, like Can was saying last night, after a while you start to really see where the AI has problems. Right? That looks a whole lot better. Good morning, Brent. I am really enthralled by this concept of using the AI generated functions to see where they go. And kind of working with it to move farther. I mean, because I feel like the AI started with something that was okay, but I can really push it, you know? I'm fascinated by it. We'll get back to Airship 27 here in a minute. Because we are almost also done with that Airship 27 piece. Yes. So that's what I'm fascinated by here is the idea of pushing an AI picture. It's sort of I want to say it's know thine enemy. Yeah, I want to know thine enemy. Musashi says, Musashi tells us to know your enemy. I'm not ecstatic about the entrance of AI. Well, and I'm not ecstatic about it because of what it's doing to our abilities. Last night, somebody had one of the people who were on the show last night in the last night's stream, David, had said, and he's not wrong. He said the reason AI is so good is because it has a millennia worth of art to pull from as far as skill goes. And he's not wrong, which means that it doesn't matter. This piece is far better than any piece I could ever do. Okay, not a problem. I'm not really considering myself an artist so much as a storyteller. And right now, the AIs aren't really working very well on telling stories. Doesn't mean they don't. But I think being a comic artist still gives me something that's out there that people can use. Individual artwork, though, is going to be a little bit more complex and a little bit more difficult to deal with. The people who do magic cards and things like that. But the point that I'm kind of noticing is you don't need to be a very strong artist to be able to do basic fix on things. Right? Here is the original, and here is my fix. Right? We're kind of good morning, Patsy. Stargate AI. So here's the fix to it. Here's what I got off of the AI. And I have gone through and fixed it. And frankly, that's a different picture now. It's so radically different from its original piece. I've departed quite a bit. Good morning, Can.
And another thing. No.
And one other thing. I'm just saying. Anyway, I'm still dinking with this AI piece because I don't know reasons. I don't know. I keep thinking that I'm. Anyway, I'll be dinking with it for a little while longer, and then I'm going to give up on it because it's really not worth putting this much effort in. However, the point that I think I'm trying to make is it's now departed quite a bit from the piece that I got off of the AI. I mean, it's totally different now.
So how do you work this? Because I'm on the Midjourney
Discord
thing. So let's say I wanted to do something. How would I input that in?
Some user, that is totally where Can and I are. We are totally with you right there. Okay, so go to the Midjourney. You get about 25 fires off for free-ish, give or take. So go there, go to one of those. You see how it's got channels that say something like newbie or new user, or actually, I'm on that channel. What am I talking about? Newbies, like it says newbies 121, newbies 151, 181, etc.
Yeah.
Go to one of those channels, and then type in /imagine, right? And that's the prompt. Okay. Once you have imagine, then type in keywords. But you could see by the other keywords that are in there are a lot of words you need to use to kind of figure stuff out. So, use keywords, ultra detailed, separate the keywords by commas, because it seems to, if you do everything inside a comma unit, the AI then thinks that's a thing. So if you say ultra detailed picture by KN, that's all one thing. If you say ultra detailed, comma, picture, comma, by KN, that's 3 separate inputs that it's going to use to produce the picture.
Right.
And some user, I am absolutely on board with you on this one. But then what we were asking last night, and what I'm questioning is, I've walked away from the AI input on this. It's no longer the AI input that I got. So where does it become my art? And that's the question I've got. All right. If we take this piece and we put it here, you really can see what I've changed. Like, I've done a lot of work on this to fix it and bring it back from like bizarre AI land. Because this is actually not a bad piece, but it started here and I've been pulling it out of there. Now Can's going to give this a shot. But there is one thing, some user, to go with what you're saying, there is one thing that I have noticed. You can tell that it's AI. Can tell that it's AI. And I can tell that this is AI. So in order for you to cover up the sins of the AI, you have to be a pretty decent artist to begin with. So you have to have some skill. Otherwise, it's only going to be a matter of time before art directors at Magic the Gathering or whatever are going to start pegging in and going, did you use AI for this? You know what I mean? They're going to start pegging in on it. And yeah, Brent knows that it was AI. Sorry. And Brent knows that it was AI. But it does. It makes me think, when does it get to the point where
I'm really driving a batty now.
Are you trying to mess with Midjourney?
Yes, I am actually. Ooh.
Right? The problem that I've got is sometimes Midjourney fires something off and you're like, damn, that's actually pretty cool. And that makes me madder, I think, almost. You know what I mean? Like, I hate the fact that Midjourney's coming up with stuff that's good. I want it to come up with stuff that's crap. You know what I mean? Like, that way I don't have to get like, I feel so annoyed. Years and years and years of practicing and practicing and practicing, and I'm not half as good as this machine that can do it in 30 seconds. And that aggravates me. And I would expect that as a professional artist, I would look at the stuff Midjourney would generate and go, well, that sucks. All of that sucks.
Okay. I'm going to pop this up on the screen that I just...
You're like, now I got to show you what we've done.
No, well, yeah. Because you're going to look at it and go, oh shit, I didn't think about it in this way. Because this...
Well, that's what I'm hoping for with this experimentation.
Well, this will change a lot of perception.
Let's full screen your drawing monitor. I'm going to full screen your drawing monitor so that we can see what you're talking about. Yeah. I'm going to full screen your drawing monitor in a different way. That's not the way I want to do it. That's fine. Okay. Throw it over on your drawing monitor.
Okay. I'm working on it. Hold on.
Okay. That wasn't supposed to be rushing you. That was me pushing buttons and not doing it right.
Fresh. Okay, that's the what I inputted. And the phrase I used for this was line art, girl, magic spell, on floor, detailed manga.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. There's actually an AI that's doing nothing but taking a photo input and turning it into anime style.
Yeah.
And I know because I've got a cosplayer, and that's one of the things she's been doing is she cosplays, takes a picture of herself, then feeds it through the AI and comes up with her as an anime character, which she's, as an anime cosplayer, she is completely thrilled about. She thinks this is the funniest thing that she's ever done. She's not an artist, she's a cosplayer. So she loves this. This is projecting. She's an anime style cosplayer. She's projecting herself now as an anime character. It looks gorgeous.
Okay.
It looks, I mean,
All right.
you know,
All right. So now
the eyes are so screwed up.
there's my sketch layer.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. So draw over it.
So it gives me the basic sketch idea.
Yep.
And then I can go in and go, you know what? I really like panel 3. I actually really like panel 3 for a bunch of different reasons, but I like panel 3 to think it.
You're not live. Melon's not even live and has 8 people watching their channel. Oh no, poor Melon. Google has made an AI that can generate animation and stock footage. So that's part of the deepfake technology that I also think is somewhat creepy. Especially now that the porn industry has gotten a hold of the deepfake technology. That's terrifying.
Well, did you see the article I linked you?
No, because my wife was having a hard time getting started this morning. And so I was kind of helping her get moving this morning.
So you need to read that article because it's talking about more than just like we're looking at it just from this point of view of an artist. They were looking at it also from a teacher's perspective and the rough times that are ahead because people can now write essays using AI on a scale that's even harder to detect.
That one's a tough one. I saw an AI that wrote stories for you. Somebody had mentioned that. And the AI writes stories and then puts illustrations on it in anime style. And I was like, well, I still think that in the end, we as humans are going to want or need human stories written by humans. I think it'll be difficult for the AIs to get to that point. I don't think it'll be impossible, but I think it'll be difficult. So I really am thinking it's going to be tough for the AIs to get to that point where they can mimic interesting and engaging stories where you're interested in wanting to know what happened to the people. And I do think that there's a threat for it. It's there. It's definitely threatening. It's not like we're complicated humans. Because we aren't complicated, you know. But as far as storytelling goes, I feel like as a storyteller, you're interested in knowing what my brain wants to say. So you're engaging with me. If you're interested in my work, you're engaging with me because of what my brain has to say. And I still think that storytellers will always have an important role to play in society by telling the stories of what's going on out there in the real world. But I am fascinated by all of this. Is that her hand? Oh, that's cool.
So suddenly I have.
Yeah, see, before the AI picture that you projected didn't look like that. You went a different direction. I love it. I love it. You went somewhere else with it. And that is exactly what we should be doing. That's actually what I was saying last night whenever I said I might use it to set up a scene. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I'm not going to use it to make paintings. That's kind of silly. But to set up a scene, I could see.
Or to fix a panel. Let's say you have a panel that it just, you've worked with it 2 or 3 ways and it's not coming out the way you want it. And you send it to the AI and the AI goes, well, I have this. And you go, that is way different than what I was thinking. I like it.
Right. Like I wasn't thinking in that way. Which is exactly what I was thinking about with this picture. How useful is this picture as a picture by itself? Not very. I mean, it's cute, it's funny, it's interesting. I might use it for all kinds of stuff. What can I use this picture for in my story? It gave me an idea of what maybe the proto-Chinese spacesuits were. Like a design ethic one of the things that I have a problem with is that I have a very specific design ethic for Bellatrix Rising, but I'm also stuck in that design ethic. Like, I can't break out of it. That's a good point, too. Some user says, if the AI decommercializes art, actual artists will no longer be chasing trends and instead make what they truly want, since they won't get any recognition for it regardless. That's an interesting side note. Of course, we also won't get paid for it and we all get to starve again, which is,
yeah.
I feel kind of like the reason that I'm mad is the internet gave us artists the ability to not have to be a Rembrandt, to not have to be a Michelangelo. Even because I mean Michelangelo, if you're well, I mean let's not split hairs. I know none of them were very rich, but the ones that you know about were the ones that became popular. And if the world had worked the way it was supposed to, those guys would be super rich, right? Let's change this so that I don't have to get caught in the whatevers of it, but let's try a different way. Actors are a great example. The internet decentralized where the gateways to the artwork were. In acting, you make $1.50, $1.50, $1.50, and then all of a sudden you're Nicolas Cage and you're making $7 billion a second. You go from, it's the American dream, it's the classic American dream. With the internet, we could make enough to make a living. As an artist, we could survive. But then AI comes along and strips all that from us again. And we're back to decommercializing it and back to, well, hope you have a real job while you're being an artist. Which is what my dad kept saying over and over and over that hurt so bad. And, I mean, frankly, kind of what I've been talking about online with people who are talking about college degrees and things like that. A college degree allowed an artist to actually do something with their art instead of having to be a plumber and an artist at night. You know what I mean? That was, do some job they don't want to do. I like this piece. I think it's good. I'm going to park it. But first, I'm going to talk about the differences between the two, because it's kind of wild. I've done enough changes to this that it's not the same picture. I dare say mine's better.
Well, look at what I'm doing.
Yep.
This is now a completely different picture.
Right.
Using the same
Principles.
base.
Right. Same base. Well, and that's the same thing we're talking about base,
here. And here's it now.
Yep.
This is in my style and my artwork.
Yep.
You can't look at that and go, well, you can see the AI, obviously, but it's so buried now underneath what my style has become that it's hard to trace it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, the same thing. My piece is better than the AI generated piece.
Mm-hmm. We're saying the same thing.
We're are.
Coming back to.
I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that I think this could be viable. Maybe it's not the worst thing that's ever happened.
It needs to be. I think there are some legal things that need to be brought in. I think there are some societal things that need to be brought in on how to handle this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the future is scary. I just think it needs to be discussed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, we need to think about it. Hey, Ronald. I'll be working on oh, hey, Ronald, while you're here, Ron. I don't know why I'm calling you Ronald, because your name says Ronald. While you're here, let me show you where we are, because this is what we're going to be working on today anyway. Let me show you where we are on this piece. There we go. We're moving quite quickly through here on this. I'm at the shading and coloring stage of this piece, so we're moving along quickly. And I'll have this one probably for you by today. Don't worry about it, Sun User. You're doing just fine. This is an interesting and complicated topic, and somewhat scary. I mean, I work really hard to get to this piece, and I use maquettes to draw over, which has always, you're welcome, which always has made me feel bad. I feel like I'm not actually doing artwork because I use the maquettes to start. And of course, I've had to have long therapy sessions with Kan and many of my other friends to back me off of, am I doing the right thing? What am I doing wrong here, sort of thing. And so the question, I like to explore these because I want to, in my head, have a very definite thought. Not just, I'm afraid of it and therefore I don't like it. I don't like that whenever I do it. So, anyway, I will now finish working on my bizarre AI experiment. So, Ron, I went to Midjourney last night and I pulled up this piece here, which is a Midjourney AI render. And then
he brought us the deepest of rabbit holes, Ron.
Yeah,
Ron?
and I totally just went into this long rabbit hole last night and this morning while rebrushing and kind of touching up this AI picture. I think that for me, what I think I will do is I will use that for my role-playing games. You know what I mean? Like, here is this character that you met. I had said this last night. I think that the best usage I could see for that is to randomly generate a character, because I have done in the past where I have spent 3-4 hours painting a lovely picture of an NPC, only to have my characters kill it within minutes of meeting it. And I'm like, I spent 3 hours on that. Yeah. Yeah. And you know how much we love Kenichi Sonoda. I mean, like, as an example, that's a perfect example. Yeah. What some user... I feel like it is. The question really is, I mean, and it's another one of those questions. Ron's asking whether, isn't it just another tool? Maybe. But given a choice of this piece here or this piece, one of the things we were talking about last night was AI is drawing off of a millennia of artwork styles to pull up. So its art starts out of the gate better than we are, because we don't have a millennia of experience drawing. So no matter what, it starts out cleaner, it starts out better, it starts out sort of a little further down the road. So the question really is, what we've been kind of exploring between Kayan and I is, can you use AI as a prompt start? If so, kind of use its experience to push you a little further down the road. If I were to make pieces for your books like this, you know what I mean? Like, you can already appreciate the color balance. You can appreciate the brush strokes. It's a more advanced color palette than I use, because I'm not that advanced in color. I started out in black and white. And so because I started in black and white, my color skills are actually pretty poor. I'm very glad that you like my covers that I've been doing for you, but frankly, that's my weakest skill, is in color. I've been working in black and white this whole time. So I'm moving to color, and I think I'm doing fine. But you take the cover of the last book that I did for you versus this AI generated piece, and clearly the AI is more advanced than I am. That doesn't mean I can't get here. Doesn't mean I can't be this good. It just means that I feel like it's already got a jump on me. So do I use this piece?
And what I'm learning, and what I was exploring was the same idea with the prompt, but as a sketch layer.
Right.
Like, okay, this is what I'm thinking for this panel, and having the AI go, okay, well, here's some ideas for it. And I grab the idea I like to put into that panel. And that's what's happened. This panel I really liked here in the bottom corner. And I built it out, and suddenly it goes from generic AI to one of
something
my characters.
Much more reasonable.
And
Ron's saying something that I really think is interesting. He's talking about soulless. And I think you had said something last night that was similar, Kayan. You were saying something to the effect of, you can tell it's AI because it's static. It has no dynamics.
Yeah.
But then we brought up some of those pictures that were coming up where that guy had put in the prompt of pirates fighting or something like that. And the picture was really dynamic in that prompt. Of course,
he also had like 2 paragraphs of prompt in there too.
He did. And that puts crafting into it. That adds a certain amount of skill and crafting to it. But Ron's saying something about the things being soulless. And I think I can see what he's saying, and I feel that too. The question really is, did I add soul back into this picture from here to here? Am I putting the soul back in? Because now Ron has sort of put a word in that I like. I like that word. I like the idea of spirit or soul. I really feel like part of what we do as artists is imbue spirit, right? Whatever that amorphous world is. I don't know. Did I imbue spirit into this character, style?
Well, and look at this. I mean, it's whoa.
You just wrote all over it. Don't write all over it. Oh God.
What am I doing? What's
What are
happening?
you doing?
I got four.
Don't leave your stylus unattended.
Because this went from kind of a generic cartoony look, which was interesting, to that, and that put a lot of soul into it. Because like one of the things it did randomly was it had this finger sticking out at the ground. And I went, what if I push that idea that her spell is, blossoming this kind of horrifying thing out of the ground as part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it really kind of changed the picture quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ron's saying Steve Ditko's art is all sharp angles. And certainly in a vacuum, we call that not necessarily good, but it was true art, and that's where the beauty arose from. And I think he's, I would even say the same thing about Miller. Frank Miller's artwork is not spectacular, technically so. But on the same token,
spectacular with what he does with black and white.
Right, his skill
it's so
with
stark.
Gradients of color, or like using a specific color. I'm thinking very much of Sin City, where he uses just yellow or just red, or just blue. Very specific primaries. The question is, could we fire that off in AI and get the same effect? And some users talking about the training model, and I get that. And I've actually thought about that. I wonder if I could find an AI that's not Midjourney, because I'm just using Midjourney because that's the one that is popular right now. And I was curious, and so I went on ahead and started poking around during the game Saturday night, because my character was playing a minor part. So I was sort of idle over on my side. So I started dinking around with Midjourney. And while doing so, because I was thinking at first I was going to try to get my wife's character and see if I couldn't, because she had always said her character looks in her head like Orlando Bloom. So I was like, that's easy. I'll type that into the AI and generate a character that could possibly come up with it. And it didn't do a bad job. And I find... Yeah, and Ron, I think you are absolutely right. I think the only threat that we are perceiving and we see is that there's a certain je ne sais quoi, right? There's a specific je ne sais quoi, and I love the fact that the French have a word for this, about hand-done work, the work that's done by an actual artist with an actual hand. And I think some people can perceive it and others can't. And I think those of us that are in the field, we can see it. We can perceive it. But you can't quantify it. You can't say, oh, well, the AI put too many lines in here, or was just a little too blue, or this is too chartreuse, or there's too much plaid. You can't pin it. It's a feel. And so what you'll end up with is art directors who don't have skill in that detection, who will take this piece right here and pull it in instead of taking my piece, because I'm technically less qualified. Agreed. That's why I'm not that threatened by it directly, because I'm a comic artist. I feel like people will be interested in seeing my comic book and seeing where my story goes, and less interested in whether I drew the hands perfect or not, which is one of the ways that I have settled myself and resigned myself to using maquettes and come to an agreement with myself. Does that make sense? Like, I feel like I'm okay with it. I can't tell whether Can's frozen or not.
I'm still here. Am I frozen on your end?
Yeah, you're just not moving much. So, hello, I got you.
Okay.
You just weren't moving a whole lot. So, I think that's true of everything. Ron, that's how I work well with teenagers. That's my secret. Everybody asks me, what's my secret? All of my classes are so nice, and all of my kids behave and everything like that. And I'm like, that's because I walk in and I tell them that I'm an 80s kid, and I'm totally going to say awesome and dude, and they can just deal with it. I'm not going to pretend to be Gen Z. There's no way. I'm Gen X. I'm Gen X, and just accept it. And, I like Bon Jovi. That's the way it goes. And then whenever we play the old videos from the 1970s that clearly were on a reel-to-reel projector, and they start out by going like that, because you could tell that they had to get up to speed. I always go, this warms my heart. It reminds me of elementary school. And the kids are happy, and they listen to me, and they work with me, and I don't treat them like children. I just treat them like, people who need to learn this job. We got to learn how to drive a car. But I think honesty is true for everybody. I think the most destructive thing for any human being is being dishonest, not being true to themselves. I think that hurts more than anything else. So, you're fine. It actually is probably good, Brent, because you can live in the world of Gen X or live in the world of the millennials. The good thing about us Gen Xers is we're fine. We're pretty welcoming. We'll take you in. It's all good. I mean, you might not know about Knight Rider that much, but at least you know about Knight Rider, See you later, Ron.
Or
Thank you for joining me. I will go back to working on Silver Pentacle for Ron's benefit. So some users saying photographs are realistic, but they're not impressive, while the same picture is but painted is. See, you're Gen X enough. Yeah, but the point, some user, and the thing that worries me, is as the AIs hammer themselves in and get better at this, because of course this is very new technology, so it's only going to get better. A-Team, I liked A-Team. I was a Knight Rider guy, but that's probably because cars. Like, I like Dukes of Hazzard, mostly because the Dodge Challenger and Dodge Charger were excellent vehicles. I have a soft spot for that car. And that's just the way it goes. And Knight Rider had that Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. So that was a pretty car. I still have a soft spot in my heart for the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am. And the A-Team had a Dodge van. I mean, but it's funny how every human has like a different take on it. And you can kind of see why I was attracted to Airwolf and Blue Thunder and Knight Rider, because the soul of the story was the vehicle. And you all know, you've been watching me draw my comics. I like my spaceships and my robots. It's like the fire chicken.
So one
You do
person
that.
put in a prompt for a biting pear into Midjourney.
A what?
A biting pear. And that's what they got back.
I'm not gonna lie, that's pretty kick-ass. I mean, that's disturbing, but frickin' funny. That's the other thing that AI is doing that's just weird. Like, it can make stuff up that I almost want to roll dice and come up with verbs and nouns and throw them in there and see what it does. You know what I mean? Like a random noun generator, random verb generator, and just throw those words into the prompt and just see what it comes up with.
So that's a no, but at least I don't feel the need to douse my iPad with holy water. Person is every couple of months plays with AI, and their last one is they did like squid or octopus or something like that, and they were getting some eldritch monstrosities that woo.
Yep. And some of these things are coming out gorgeous.
Interesting chicken AI pieces.
That one's amazing. Look at that. That's what's going through that channel right now. This is on the channel. So that's an amazing piece too.
Really,
I mean, it
good
needs
at
help.
static poses.
But I mean, this is perfect for me for just rando NPC you find on, you know, I'm about to start a cyberpunk game. I'm going to D&D it. I'm going to DM it. D&D it. I'm going to DM or GM it. And I've been thinking about starting a cyberpunk game. And this is perfect. I could use this. I mean, all I got to do is just get rid of that air pearl that's in his eye that is glued to his face. But I could just walk away with this right here. I like how he's got earbuds that do not actually go to his ear. That cracks me up. Oh well. Anyway, just a thing. Fried chicken sandwich.
Hey, check out what
There you go.
Like, that's interesting.
That's the problem. Like, some of these are fascinating.
And again, we're not trying to poo-poo a tool. We're trying to work out what does this mean?
What is its use? What can I do with it?
You know, I even said last night that I wasn't opposed to AI art, but there's a lot of things that needs to be taken into consideration.
Yeah.
For example, what happened with Kim Jong, God, I can't think of his last name.
Un?
The artist that died.
Gee. Gee. Oh my God. That's enough to get those confused.
But Kim Jong-il, did you hear what happened with him?
Maybe?
So he died.
Oh, yes. Yes, he did die.
So,
that was a big deal.
So, yeah. So a guy went and took all of his art, dumped it into an AI, and had an AI start producing Kim Jong-il art.
That's an issue.
Like, within a week of his death.
Yeah.
There was an AI that fully learned his style and started producing work based on it. And again, you have to come through and say, hey, that's not cool.
But let's talk about some of that in an extensive point. You and I have been broadcasting for 3 years now, right? I mean, like, we've been doing this since Prince, like, that's how I'm going to keep the damn comic going if I die. You know what? I'm not opposed. I'm not kidding. I'll say it right here, right now. If I get hit by a bus and someone knows how the story was supposed to go and can feed all my artwork into an AI and wrap the story up, you would settle my poor heart. I would rest in peace. Because I think one of my greatest fears as an artist is that I will die before my stupid story comes to an end. The only thing I will ask. Well, yeah, I know. The only thing I will ask. Well, but I'm not dead yet. I still got a few years left in me. But I'm not. The only thing I will ask is that you put in the opening. You know, this was Guy's wish. This is AI driven, but it is what he was after. And goodness knows I have enough notes in here that people could figure out how to get to the end of it. So, anyway, I have said it here. I have said it now. You have heard me. All two people who are interested in this very thing, because nobody but Brent is really that interested. But that's okay. All two of us. Oh, man. All right. All right. You're on break. I don't care. It's all good. Did my wife leave and not say goodbye? She left and didn't say goodbye.
Well, I have to off of here because I have to eat breakfast. But it was one of those things where I was doing stuff this morning and I just had a shower thought, you know?
Yeah, well, and I'm thinking of going live with Midjourney and actually getting the trial on it and maybe paying a little bit of money for it because I see value in what we've got going on here. If nothing else, I see generating a ton of NPCs. The pictures are pretty decent and they could be great for generating random NPCs. That said, I don't think, well, or we could use it as a prompt, like what you were saying, redraws.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, you don't have to stick around. I'm going to see if I can't trade you for somebody, like see if Colton's out there listening and if he wants to join in. Or if Pepper's out there listening and wants to join in. See if I can trade you for somebody. Because the discussion is cool. But once you leave, I'm talking to myself in an empty chamber.
No, the discussion is fantastic. And
this is amazing.
As you can tell, I was still thinking about it this morning.
Yeah.
And the implications
you texted me after I'd gone to sleep.
Yeah.
You messaged me last night and said, that was a great discussion. I'm like, drool.
Yeah.
This morning I got up and went, yeah, it was. But yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's like, and Ron just added a whole bunch of interesting thoughts because I think he's right with soul. And it's, I mean, maybe not soul direct or literal, but there is a je ne sais quoi. There's something about a hand-drawn piece. You took something that was interesting, but then you turned it into a Kayan piece. And it imbued spirit into it. There's spirit there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
it went from generic to a very, very different feel of the piece.
Right? You added to it. You put that je ne sais quoi in. Which I think is the same thing I have going with my pieces when I start with a maquette and then draw into it. I'm putting in that spirit. I'm imbuing the soul. I think if I were to give you the same maquettes, it wouldn't look the same. You know what? We should do that sometime. If you were up for it, I'd be curious to render a panel and then have you draw it and me draw it and see what the differences are. I think that would make me feel a lot better too. Because I'm sure yours would look radically different from mine.
You know what I mean? Send it my way and I will do something with it.
Yeah, well, let's do that sometime when you and I are on a show and neither one of us are... You're not prepping for breakfast and I'm not prepping to wrap this illustration up and ship it out. So let's do that sometime. Hold down. You could load... Oh, download. Stable diffusion. Oh, okay. Yeah, I think you're right. Some user. I think that we've got to. Anybody who posts links gets killed on there, and I think you're absolutely right. I don't know where you're coming in from. Are you on my side or are you on Kayan's side? You're on my side.
He's on yours.
Yeah, he's coming in from YouTube. And I apologize for that. I've got some. We get some really creative bots that like to nail my YouTube account. So I apologize greatly.
Anyways, I will catch you later.
Good night or good day, my friend. I shall see you plausibly tonight or tomorrow or whatever. We can continue this discussion tonight if you want.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll talk to you later.
See you later. It'll be back to me, and I should probably reconfigure the warp core over here. Go back to this one. It's a better view of this anyway. Yeah, I'm sorry, some user. It's blocked because stupid people. Anyway, stable diffusion. I will look that up real quick. What are you? Oh, so this is exactly as it is. It's on a web page. So, um, futuristic. Let's see what it says. It's running it now. The Pikachu fine dining with a view of the Eiffel Tower. George, I will totally scratch you if you come over here. You know that, right? All you need to do is jump up here. I will happily give you scritches. Oh, that's kind of interesting. It's pulling across here. So I am making this mess. I have made a mistake, though. I have made a tactical error. Oh, gotcha. That's fine. I'm out looking at what it's got on here. I'm looking at seeing what Stable Diffusion comes up with. Oh. Yeah, well. Fascinating. Yeah, the web page version is a demo, and I've got to admit, it's done the squish arms and legs and stuff thing, right? Like we'd have to go fix hands, although this has got hands, just not good ones. This one doesn't look as clean as Midjourney, so I don't know on that one necessarily. It doesn't mean it's bad, just it's not as clean as Midjourney. So that's a thing. And I'm okay with it. Fascinating. It's fascinating to me, though. Let's take Cyberpunk. Wonder if I can put see what it says if I do photorealistic Cyberpunk. I'm also curious about the way prompts work. I mean, they are fascinating. I like the fact that the page is called Hugging Face. Waifu Diffusion. I'll give that one a shot. I like anime style art. Okay, so you take high quality. Okay. How do you use it? Import. Yeah, but how do you use it?
Incoming call from an unknown caller.
Hang on, guys. It's local. Let me see what this is. Luckily, it looked like that was an automated system, so I killed it. So, all right. I don't know how to get it to work, though. This one doesn't make sense. So, some user, are you on the? I mean, I hear you talking about artists in your area talking about it. Does this mean that you are pro AI, or do you have strong feelings? What are your feelings on it? I'm curious. There's no wrong answer on this. And like I said, we're exploring. We're kind of poking around ourselves. You know, what's going on? What could possibly go wrong? You know. That's what I'm curious about. Brent's like, I don't trust AI. You know what happens when you trust AI, right? Know your enemy. Well, and after dinking with it a little bit, I'm not necessarily thinking that it's a bad starting tool. I think it's like anything. When you have people so Can is going further with the AI pair thing, and it's getting worse because they keep refeeding the biting pair back into the system, and they're getting it's getting more and more terrifying as time goes on. You mean Landrew? Are you Brent of the body? I think the best part about Landrew was frickin' Lower Decks. When Lower Decks went. That was still the best. when Captain Freeman's like, don't make me logic you out of existence again. Oh man, that was beautiful. That was a beautiful thing. Some things are gorgeous. Star Trek is always beautiful. That never ends. Star Trek is always beautiful. Yeah, that's it. But on the same token, people are using Daz Studio to make comics, right? And have been for a long time. And that's not skill either. I know I use Daz Studio as my maquettes to start a scene, right? So are we or are we not talking about a new tool? And I think the biggest thing is you can tell when someone has made a Daz Studio comic. It looks like a 3D maquette thing. However, Genesis 9 is the newest DAZ Studio maquette, and it's getting harder. Metahumans are freaking terrifying. They look real, they act real. Stuff that's going on Unreal Engine. I found a program called Vertimate, which is really just a sex simulator. That's the whole idea. However, and as I'm like, whatever, doesn't really appeal to me as that. But what it does appeal to me to is that it has real world physics and it's using Genesis 2 models from DAZ, which means you can grab one of their models and drop it onto a bed and it lays on the bed correctly. The limbs go the right direction, or you sit it in a chair and it looks like it's sitting in a chair. You can make its eyes track things, which makes it look like it's having an actual interchange with somebody else, which is part of what was one of the tells of DAZ Studio. Because one of the tells of DAZ Studio was that the maquettes wouldn't track in. It's one of the things I have to fix when I draw over my DAZ Studio maquettes, is tracking in or expressions or things like that. And this Vertimate program has really pushed the reality, the actions. And I've been looking at that Vertimate and setting up scenes in Vertimate and letting them breathe and letting them run for a minute or two before snapping a screenshot of it. And that's making more fluidity. Maybe. But like I had said last night, there's an infamous episode of, well, not an infamous episode, but there's an episode of Star Trek Next Generation. Data is playing the violin. And after the performance, because they're doing a performance in 10 forward. And after the performance, Riker comes up and says, "That was beautiful." And Data says, "Thank you, sir, but it's technically perfect. I used a little bit of the style of this artist and a little bit of the style of this artist and a little bit of the style of this artist to make my performance." And Riker said, "Yeah, but you chose those pieces to make your performance, and that's the art." Data's argument was what we're saying here, which is the AI is just pulling bits and pieces together. And Riker's argument is that that's still an art. And now I'm sitting there stuck between the two of them going, I don't know whether I agree with Data or whether I agree with Riker on this. And once again, I will point out to all of you who are listening that I have brought up Star Trek, and I know you guys are all shocked and amazed that I would bring that up. But Trekkies will Trekkie. We will always be Trekkies. They both have solid points, and that's the problem. That's where I have an issue. They're both correct. You know what I mean? Like, they're both right, and maybe they're both wrong. And I'm not sure which is which, Just going to make sure that my hair colors start the right way. That we are issuing the same shades of gray for everything, so that he matches. And we're back to what Ron was saying. Spirit or soul. It's interesting. Because you're not wrong, some user. That's true. That's a real thing. This is fascinating, this deep dive that we're taking, guys. It's intriguing to me. We're getting into this fascinating gray area. I don't know whether I like it or I hate it. Thanks, I hate it. I don't know. I don't know where I am on this. It's definitely something that I'm intrigued about. But the fact that one guy here in Colorado managed to win an art contest with an AI generated piece is what's really worrying me. Ron is right. There's a certain amount of je ne sais quoi that's not clear, but you can see it. The problem is, if you can win an art contest, that means that whatever that je ne sais quoi is, not everybody sees it. And that is an issue, right? I mean, because we need to be able to know that as an artist, if I turn this piece in and then turn this piece in, you're going to naturally say this piece is better by default than this piece. But this piece is something I drew. I worked on it. I did it. It's mine. Whereas this was AI generated. If I don't tell you that it's AI generated, how would you know? That's what gets me. And I think that's what that's what I think you're headed for. That's the zone I think you're going into, which is how do we tell? How do we tell? What do we do? And there's nothing they can do about it. Like the people who programmed AI, there's nothing they can do. Because if they were to watermark it, let's say, put over here something that does exactly like this, where it says AI generated, right? If they were to watermark it, I'd delete the watermark. You know what I mean? It's definitely, there's a conundrum here. There's a real problem. I don't mind AI art as long as you can tell what it is. As long as it's clear. But I think I have a problem with it if I can't identify it. And if it's winning contests, I have more of an issue. Why are you? Oh, because you're using the wrong pen. Don't use that. That won't help you. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that's what you're after on this one. And I agree and concur. I agree. Fascinating. This is a fascinating discussion. I think it's even more fascinating because we're messing with it. We're getting into it. We're getting to the nitty gritty. Kayan and I are both going to sit here and dink with this and figure out what we think of it. What do we think of this? You know? It's a thing. Fascinating. It is truly fascinating. No, don't do that. That won't help you any. You don't want to do that. Brent, do you see what's up here? Do you see what's up here? You're like, I promised Ron that we would do this. So some user, if you're wondering, Ron Fortier, who is just on here, Ronald Fortier, he's a buddy of mine from Fort Collins, but he's also He used to work on Green Hornet and um, a number of other titles. And now he has a pulp publishing company where he does pulp work, like pulp kind of art and things like that. And he hires us local artists to do pieces for him. And that's what we're doing right now. And it was fascinating to have him on here with us because he's been there. He's been down this road. I mean, his heyday was the 70s and the 80s. So he was in this before all of this got mangled up and we ended up with this kind of stuff, right? He was in this stuff before then. So he's seen a lot of this evolution and change in the way that things work. And so I'm fascinated by his observation on it. He's got a lot of real world experience, more than me, and by far. And so I'm always fascinated by what he sees and how he sees it. Interesting all the time. Everybody has value, but sometimes you have a topic, and on the topic, that value comes in, Right. I think you're right. As someone who has sort of a crippling issue, my imposter syndrome freaks me out whenever I try to draw pictures saying that my proportions are wrong and my perspective is wrong. I'm good at proportions, I'm good at perspective, but my imposter syndrome freaks me out and will tell me that my perspective is screwed up and my proportions are screwed up. So the answer that I have used is you've arrived to be part of the accountability. Thank you, Jerry. We're talking about AI art. So my way of handling my imposter syndrome was to make maquettes and use DAZ Studio and then trace over the objects in that scene so that the perspective will be correct, and anything my brain says that's not right, I can say it is right. You rendered it in 3D. Stop talking. You know what I mean? Like I can force myself to let it go. And that's a tool I use. But there are people out there who would call that tracing and call that failing to do the job correctly. I can do it just fine with the maquettes. I'm totally capable of doing it without the maquettes. It's just that it takes much longer and it makes me want to cry and hide in a corner. I don't get any work done. And I already have, as Brent is so cheerfully pointing out, I already have problems with production and getting things done. It's already difficult. So, I mean, the reason I'm here broadcasting is an accountability, because I know that I have to be here every day or else Brent will hunt me down and find me and kill me. But first force me to draw before he kills me, because that's important. But the point is that it's an accountability function, right? We're doing this for accountability. And so this is all tools. These are all tools. And that's what Ron was saying. Isn't AI just another tool? And that's a good question. And I think you're right, some user. If you're using it as a tool to help get through some piece, some issue, because goodness knows us artists have far more than enough bizarre little weird issues that we all suffer from, then it's good. It's not a bad thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. And that's the thing. it is okay, and that's the I think that's the resolution I have come to in my brain, is that it is okay to use the maquettes because I can go without them. I can operate without them. If I couldn't and I didn't want to learn, I think that'd be a different story. We'd have to have a come to Jesus moment. You know what I mean? Like, we'd really have to work on that one. And I think you're right. That's true. He might whip me. You might whip me, Brent. It could happen. This all presumes that, I wouldn't like that. This is like that meme where it's got Darth Vader and he's like choking the guy, and the guy's like, yeah, stop, daddy, keep going, daddy. And Darth Vader's like, what? And he goes, what? Oh, I'm sorry. I get such a kick out of some of those things. They're stupid, but I love them. That sex game. Yeah. Vertimate's fascinating. Disturbing, but fascinating. I don't know what I think about the sex part of it. Although, I mean, I'm not a prude. Sex is totally cool. And what you do you, folks. I got nothing against these things. I mean, but it's also like, don't miss the opportunity on that you can use it, because, I think people will write it off as a sex game and not the most awkward work meeting ever. It's like the story of the critical fail on the orcs trying to intimidate the orc, and before you know it, they're married. So that kind of stuff. That was another interesting discussion I had on r/RPGs, was whether or not players can cheat rolls, and stuff like that, and whether GMs can cheat rolls. And it's an interesting topic on that one. We can move to that one if we don't want to continue on with AIs. I'm drawing now, so it's not a big deal. Brent won't have to whip me now. Yeah, it's a thing. This is all Brent really wants, man. It's all he wants, just for me to get the work done. Is that so much to ask? Oh, man. Anyway. All right. I feel like he looks pretty cool getting in here. Right? Kind of cleaning this up a little. Oh, really? That's all that's left of Second Life? That's a shame. I hear so that's the thing. We always talk about how porn runs the internet. And it does. But that doesn't mean that there aren't gems to be had out there. The Wicked Whims mod for Sims 4 allows your characters to literally have sex with one another or get completely naked or whatever. It allows all of these things that permits that. It also puts a much more realistic bend on one of the mods that's in there, puts a better bend on the discussions between the characters. They communicate better. They do better than like what the generic Sims 4 AI does. Somebody had posted a little while back on the Sims forums Rule 34. Somebody had posted a little while back on the Sims forums this interesting interchange between the dad and the child, where the dad was saying something and the child's responses were perfectly normal until you read what the two characters were feeling towards each other, what their relationship towards each other was. And it turns out that the dad was overbearing and disappointed in the child, and the child didn't feel loved and was abandoned. And it added an entire dimension to their discussion, which they weren't, if you know anything about Sims don't talk to one another. They mumble, and then they have moodlets that pop up above their heads to indicate what's going on. And it was one of those, on the surface, what they were moodleting was not really that complicated. But when you read below the surface between the way that they felt towards each other, it changed entirely what was going on. And you could see that there was an entire subplot happening here. And that was a Wicked Whims modification. So it comes from this sex mod that was originally put in there. And this is a totally no sex involved, because no matter what, Wicked Whims, I say this, I haven't dug very much into Wicked Whims. And frankly, if Wicked Whims has a section where the adults can have sex with the kids, I don't want to know about it. I don't even want to know. So, but in this instance, we were talking about a parent and a child, and they were having a perfectly normal discussion about school or something like that. And because of the Wicked Whims mod, it was deep. It was very deep. Same thing with this Vertimate. This Vertimate game is totally a sex simulator. That's all it is. Except that it also has real-world physics, which Daz Studio does not. So I can't take my Daz maquettes and make them droop properly, like the frame of their body properly. And it's because artists who use Daz don't generally go there for the sex thing. But if you're doing sex physics, you want to make sure that everybody moves correctly. So it's a priority that the skeletons of these models move correctly. So because of the priority of moving the models, turns out it's a much more useful tool for me, because now I can drop a character just a foot, and when it lands, everything goes clunk and settles in correctly, like you and I would be if we were walking down the street. And that's cool. That gives because the problem with Daz is they're rigid. They're stuck kind of like this until you move their shoulders down. You have to know where the gravity is. So we're cheating a little bit more. No. And there is totally use for sex games, and there's totally a market for sex games, and I have zero problem with it. I just think it's cool to use these things, these tools, and use them for what they're not designed for. That makes me giggle in a stupid way. Stupid giggling is a thing for me. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. There are people out there who love sex games. I've got no issue with that. That is their thing. Sex sells. It does. It totally does. But I'm a patron I've been liking this program so much, this Vertimate program, which you never see me use on here because, of course, the characters are anatomically correct, and of course that's going to get me banned from YouTube. So naturally, I don't use that. You don't see me use Vertimate up here, and I'm not gonna, because even the options are, like the option control panels are on the edge. You know what I mean? Like, The cool thing is he's doing a Vertimate 2, and his newest version of it, he's going to make it so that it's got a safe for work version, a shell that is safe for work. Because of people like me. I'm not the only one who's been using Vertimate for artwork. And so he's going to make a safe for work shell, and that'll be great because then I can use the safe for work shell and we'll be in great shape. Just saying. Definitely will be cool. All right. I'm going to take not just her, but we want to also take this guy, and get all of her coloring correct in here because she's definitely here. That's not what I wanted to click, was it? Nope. You want to be here. And this. Well, that's stupid. What leaked? Oh, her hair. YouTube allows artistic nudity. However, it was YouTube that banned my show when I brought up maquettes in here, and it was just naked maquettes. So though that is true, people do stupid reporting anyway. And that's what happened. Somebody reported me for nudity, for pornography even. That's even funnier. It was even funnier. They reversed it and let me have my show back, but it was still very funny. I was like, okay, you do that. Oh man, it's still leaking. Where is it leaking from now? Where is it leaking? I'm trying to decide whether it's worth it to continue on or just to clear out the section of her head here by doing this. No, that's not what I want you to do. So, it was still funny. I found it humorous. So, Jerry, wink of an eye. There you go. With the scallosions. You're welcome, Trekkie. Trekkie to Trekkie. The episode's wink of an eye. You're talking about. My mom had a fascinating ongoing discussion about that particular episode that I still to this day remember. Because the premise, yes, they were a little bit more free in the 80s to do stuff. Although what I have discovered is fascinating is the newest Star Trek has not broached the fact that they have complete creative control. They can show nudity if they want to. And I think nudity is more appropriate in Star Trek than language. Personally. Because I feel like 300 years from now, our language will have evolved to the point where you have to take the conceit that nobody is speaking English. Right? So bad words in the future are going to be something completely different, right? Your bad word is going to be, car tire. You'd be like, car tire. this thing's not working, and people are like, hey, what? Well, over the years, we hated this and we hated that, and then before we knew it, it was car tires that were our hated whatevers. Okay, well, that's fine. So I feel like that's what we're going to discover. I would much rather see nudity in Star Trek than language or excessive violence. Legitimately. Because I feel like you'd always have... I feel like Orions were supposed to be naked. Betazoids have weddings in the nude. Ferengi females are supposed to be naked. You know what I mean? Like, there is a lot of not just implied nudity, but like straight up. Roddenberry would have had nudity in Star Trek if he could have gotten away with it. Moreover, I think that Star Trek's a great place for them to do nudity that does not titillate. None of it. I don't think that there's anything in those particular things that would have nudity. I don't. I mean, I'm not saying you would have nudity. But, I mean, Lower Decks has an Orion. Right? I mean, she's an Orion. So you'd think that... oh, that's cool. Well, that makes some sense. Well, and I think in English we get the same thing. Damn is to condemn, right? So if I were to damn you, I am religiously condemning you for bad things, So it's like that word is a bad word because you're religiously condemning somebody. Hell is considered a bad word. And in fact, it's interesting that as our culture has evolved, those words have become sort of mainstream. Like the religious words have lost their bite. But the words that still that are practical, like feces or sex, those things, or sex parts, body parts, those parts have become well, and I absolutely agree. I don't think that we should just have naked people running around. That's not even remotely where I'm coming from. However, as you guys know from what I'm working on with Bellatrix, I feel very strongly that you can have nudity that does not convey titillation. It's not intended to be sexy. It's not intended to be sexual in any way. The entire scene between Chang and Jen, Chang doesn't put clothes on the entire scene because in the future she doesn't care. A, Jen is a buddy, and B, she just woke up. But that's not a sexy scene. It's not supposed to be sexy. Jen and Chang are not going to have sex. They are not each other's type. It's like if you were to do a scene at the YMCA in the showers, right? It's the Y. Let's say it's me and my best bud. We did have an entire, like when we went and would go to the Y to swim or whatever, we would continue whatever discussion was going on in the pool in the showers. We just keep going. Right? There's nothing sexual about that. There's nothing weird about that. That's a perfectly normal thing for our society to do. My best friend and I have no interest in each other. We've never had interest in each other, and that's totally normal. But there we both were naked in the showers, right? And one could go, ooh, except nothing happened, right? We just kept talking about the thing. That's what I loved about Starship Troopers was the shower scene in Starship Troopers, which is funny because every time I say that, everybody's like, yeah. And I'm like, no. Like, they're like, I know why you like that scene. I'm like, that's not why I like that scene. I like that scene because I feel like that's pretty accurate. In the future, we won't care. We won't care. It helps to live with somebody who grew up that way, because now you realize just how little she cares about that. And because of that, my kid is totally acclimated. He doesn't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's not important. Nudity does not equal sex. Nudity equals what you do when you get into the bathtub. You know? It's totally straight up. That doesn't mean something bad can't happen, but I do think that that's a point. Anyway, where would I see sex being in, or nudity, not sex, nudity in Star Trek? There are a number of scenes I can think of in TNG where nudity would have been appropriate, but was taken to a left turn. In Star Trek The Motion Picture, Ilia shows up in a sonic shower. The Ilia probe shows up in a sonic shower. She is clearly naked in the sonic shower. The sonic shower puts clothes on her for reasons, when in real life, if you think about it, she's a robot generated by a thing that doesn't understand humanity at all. Why did it put clothes on her? I could see the crew saying, let's put clothes on her. But not at first. It said that the temperature in the sonic shower was something like 500 degrees Celsius. So it was super hot. They're not going to get in there and just throw clothes on her. Clothes would have caught fire. You know? When in the episode, the TNG episode Menage a Troy, they take Lwaxana and Deanna Troi, the Ferengi do, and strip them of their clothes because Ferengi females are supposed to be naked. Right? That's a scene where that should have been. And if you think about it, the Betazoids have their weddings in the nude. So that whole scene where they're, oh no, and trying to cover up is a very human response to it, and not a Betazoid response to it. If Betazoids are already acclimated to the idea of being in front of everybody stark naked, and that's already a thing that they're acclimated to and used to, then they're not going to freak out about being naked in front of somebody else. They're already used to being naked in front of strangers. So that's a scene where it's like, I would say if it were me, if I were king, and not just because you want to see Troy naked, it's really because legitimately they're already acclimated to that. There's the scene later on where Lwaxana Troi gets married, and she clearly has decided to be naked for the duration of that wedding. We've already established that Riker is okay with it, but Picard isn't. And so it'd be kind of one of those things. Yeah. Exactly. That's the same thing. Kenichi Sonoda is one of my favorites. And that's the problem, right? She's in the bathroom having a meltdown, which is where a lot of people have meltdowns. That's where they come apart, is generally speaking in the bathroom. And sometimes while going to the bathroom. So they're not wearing clothes. Or sometimes in the shower where they're not wearing clothes. It's because you need to be by yourself to let all of those emotions go. And that's a thing. And yeah, I totally get that. And Sonoda got called a perv for it. When all he was trying to do was say, this is where somebody falls apart. If it were me, and this was Bellatrix Rising, that's where my characters would fall apart too. because that's, is in a private shower. I'm sure that in Bellatrix there's also private shower. I know that the captain has a private bath, but that's a perk of being the captain. She gets her own bath. My captain likes to shower with the rest of the crew in the public showers, because she gets to then say, okay, did you do this? Did you do that? Did you finish this project? She gets some contact time. To her, showering is like eating meals in the mess hall. So she likes to do that. But when we first bring aboard Alex, she's going to be showering in the captain's shower because she's not acclimated to that. And we're doing that because the character is actually 14, and I know that the moment that I try to put her naked in anything, everybody's going to explode. So I'm building it into the character that she's a lot more body conscious. That also makes it easier to highlight it. Right. That, you know what, Jerry? We're going to draw that. We're going to draw that at some point in time. That is a beautiful expression right there. Right? In the mud baths, right? And people were freaked out because of the implication that Majel Barrett Roddenberry was naked with the actor who plays Rozhenko, or plays Alexander, and I can't remember who it was. Brian Bonsall. Whoo! I almost lost it there. I almost lost my Star Trek Trekkie card, guys. Look how close I came to losing my Trekkie card. Right? Because Brian Bonsall and Majel Barrett were in the mud baths, and you can see that Majel Barrett's breasts are not being depressed by something covering them, which made people think maybe she really was naked in there. Think of the children, guys. Think of the children. This house is comfortable with that now. Even I have become comfortable with it, which I didn't think would ever happen. But now I come out of the shower and I dry off and I go go to the drawer and grab all my clothes. And if my kid's in the room with me, I just talk to him at the same time. I don't think about it anymore. I did. There once was a time where it really freaked me out. But my wife doesn't think twice about it. And she's sort of adjusted this household. She set a precedent because she was a hippie and was raised in a hippie family. And so because of that, her hippie dad and mom, being hippies, did all the, hanging out and stuff like that, and hanging out. He still hangs out, by the way, which is somewhat unnerving. Okay, guys, we're coming up on the end of the show, but I'd like to go on ahead and sort of wrap this this discussion up a little bit. I all of a sudden had the hiccups. Not sure why. So I don't want to leave us if we're still feeling like we're discussing this, because I actually have nothing else to do except go make lunch, which is why I think I have the hiccups. But yeah, I mean, it's stupid hippies. And it's a thing. I like Jerry. I like your thing. We're going to make that comic. We're just going to do it. It's going to happen, man. But for Brent, and because of Brent, I'm going to finish this piece first. I'm kidding. It's really for me. But we're going to say it's for Brent. All right. Let's save this piece. Make sure we're saved and able to get to it in a minute. And then we'll be able to get back to this tonight. But yeah, there you go, guys. That was a lot of fun. That was a double whammy of interesting discussions that we went through. Right? And with me, apparently. So, anyway. I don't know. I work here. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me. I really appreciate it. It was wonderful having you here, Some User. It was wonderful having you here, Jerry. It's great talking to you guys. You send our partner. It was always great to have you here too, Brent. And as much as I'm making jokes, I really do appreciate you keeping me on task. It was good to see Ron here earlier today. Always good, and it was great having Kane on the stream as well. And I hope everybody joins me again. I'll be on tonight later on from 10 to midnight Mountain Time. I don't know what that is with you in Europe over there, Some User, but it's, I think, about this time, except 1 hour later, 12 hours from now. Does that make any sense? Like, flip the clock 12 hours, but then go 1 hour later. So because this stream was from 9 to 11, the night stream is from 10 to, oh, thank you, draw all the things, 6 in the morning. It's fair. Probably not the time to come join me. You can join me, though, during the day streams. I'll continue throughout the week. I don't have to work again. Sometimes it's the George show. And George has been here twice, but he's wandered off again because he's George, and that's what cats do. I'll be here throughout the week, and actually through most of the remainder of this month and almost all of next month. I work again at my driving school late December, so starting the 21st, the 22nd, the 23rd, and the 26th. So that's the next run at driving school. Until then, I'll be here every day. Or at least most days, because I guess I can't tell whether I'll be sick or something, but but you are always welcome to join me. You can join me here, you can join me at night. Either way, I'm getting work done, and you can join me, we'll talk. And so until then, I hope you all have a wonderful lunch, or for you, Some User, a wonderful dinner, and I will see you all later. And remember to keep your eyes on the stars. Bye-bye.